Okay, we're live. I'm trying to add Brian here. This is being a little funky. These things happen. If not, maybe we'll switch to Facebook Live. I prefer Instagram Live, but we'll see if this can work. Okay, I think it's gonna work. Dude,
Yo,
what's going on, man?
nothing. Can you see me? I can't see myself in the video, but if you could see me, fuck it.
Yeah, I can see you. I can see you fine. It's
Fuck
perfect.
it.
This actually looks
I,
pretty cool.
I
Sweet,
probably
man.
don't
So
need
good
that.
afternoon. Let me turn
Yeah.
this up. There we go. That's better. Good afternoon, dude. What's going on?
Good afternoon. Everything's
Yeah.
going well. Hold on. I'm gonna flip the camera.
Okay.
That's the
That's a
wall, right?
wall. Yeah, it's definitely a wall.
That's
It's
back
a
to
bit
me,
of purple. I'm gonna put my glasses on so I can see better. There we go.
but you still can't see me. That's
Yeah,
strange. Oh well,
that's all
fuck
right.
it.
I mean, it looks cool. You're framed perfectly fine. So
Cool.
don't.
All right.
You're good.
Great.
You're good to go.
Great.
So
Excellent.
yeah, dude. Week one of the 666 Halloween countdown.
Yeah, I just realized that your audio is not coming through my headphones at all, so I don't even know why I'm wearing them.
But you can hear me fine, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
cool. Yeah, we'll figure this out. I just I don't have the mental capacity because of work to learn anything new, so I haven't even like really tried to fuck with Zoom yet. But it seems like this is a pretty easy app to just turn on and go, and it gives you the option to save. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
repost everything. So, but yeah, man, Halloween's coming up. We got 6 weeks. The goal, pick 6 movies we'll talk about, 6 movies of your choosing. And hey, man, whenever you want to start firing, we can start firing. People who know us don't need any introduction to us. I've
Yeah.
been on your show many times. You've been on my show. Uh, yeah, we have a whole back catalog in history, so there's no reason to give a cliff notes of any of that.
Sure. All right, well, we could start off. I'm wearing this shirt specially for today. It's my Return of the Living Dead Part 2 shirt.
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah.
And let's talk about it. Return of the Living Dead Part 2.
Two.
It's a fun film for anyone that has never seen it. It's like just old school comedy horror
Right.
at its best. Like it's so insanely dumb, but at the same time so insanely gross and gory. So
Right.
it's one of those movies that like you could tell they probably just had a blast making it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think with the Dead series, what people don't realize was after Dawn of the Dead being so bleak and dark, that with Day of the Dead, they just went full on balls out, over the top, zero fucks given, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a fun one. I mean, Return of the Living Dead's actually next to Dawn of the Dead. Return of the Living Dead might be one of my favorites, and then Return of the Living Dead 2 just went full on more of what was good about Return of the Living Dead.
The thing that
And
I love about Return of the Living Dead 2 is that it
mhm.
almost feels like if Home Alone was a horror movie.
Right. Yeah.
Because
Yeah, it's
that little kid has like a heavy Kevin McAllister vibe.
mhm. Oh, definitely. Does it predate Home Alone?
I don't
When
know.
did
That's
it
a good
come out?
question.
90, 91 maybe?
I'm
It
not
might.
entirely too sure. I have the internet right here. I could look it up. But
Mhm.
it's just one of those movies that it's so much fun to watch, and like I kind of like have a pet peeve against horror movies that are serious unless they're like
Mhm.
so serious. If it's on a level of like Martyrs, I'm like, oh, okay. But
Right.
movies that are like I don't know, like The Conjuring or like
Mhm.
Annabelle, if we want to talk about like newer horror movies,
Right.
like I just
Right.
don't like it. It's like just lean into the cheese and this would be a lot more entertaining as far as I'm
Right.
concerned.
Right. Yeah, the James Wan style of filmmaking and horror filmmaking, it's really effective in the theater because he's very good with sound and very good with setups, but as for everything else, like don't get me wrong, I enjoy those movies for what they are. I enjoy any horror film even if it's stupid, but you definitely lose a little bit of fun when you go too deep into a family drama. And then once
Hmm.
Hereditary came out, it was like, oh, fuck you. You're never going that deep ever again. So don't even try it.
Yeah. I looked it up. So Return of the Living Dead 2 is from 88,
Okay.
1988. So
So
it
it does
predates Home
predate.
Alone
Right.
2 years. Yeah.
And it also falls around that time frame where you're talking The Gate, Monster Squad, all the other kid-driven horror films. So
Yeah.
it was kind of with that time too.
Hmm. You know, I had mentioned one talking with you yesterday, just to kind of like move on, because we got 6 movies, so it's going to be quite a bit to
Right.
get through. I don't think I have
Right.
anything else to say about Return of the Living Dead 2.
Yeah.
Watch it.
Yeah.
It's worth it, even if you have to like rent it on Amazon Prime or YouTube or
Mhm.
wherever the fuck we watch movies now. It's worth it. It's worth your $3. You can even
Right.
find a used copy for $3 if you can, go to some
Right.
store that still sells physical media.
Oh
You can
yeah.
probably find it new for $3 at Walmart.
Yeah, that's like a bargain bin classic. Like right at
Yeah.
the bottom.
So when I was talking with you yesterday,
Hmm.
I had brought up Witchboard, which
Oh.
is a really fun old school Ouija board movie,
Mhm.
and people should watch that. But
I actually
what I
haven't
actually
seen that yet. That's
what
that's one that
Witchboard
got past me. I do know of it. It is on Amazon Prime, so I do have the option to watch it. So I am going to watch it.
Witchboard is tight, but I do want to replace it because when I sent that list, I meant to tell
Mhm.
you Waxwork, not
Okay,
Witchboard.
okay,
So I want to
that
talk
was a
about
cool little franchise.
Yeah, I want to talk about Waxwork, the also 1988. It's a really really fun, dumb, very self-aware,
Hmm.
very very gross and fun, violent movie, especially the whole like Dracula section of that
Hmm.
movie. There's like the one scene when I don't remember the actor's name or her name in the film, but she's the one that walks into the Dracula waxwork and is in that
Hmm.
environment. Whenever she walks down into the basement and there's a dude on the table and they've been like eating his leg and his leg's
Mm.
just out on the table and like you see
Yeah, it's
the
kind
whole
of gnarly.
bow and then other vampires start coming in. Like that whole scene is so outrageously funny, but also
Hmm.
like the effects are so gross. Like that dude's leg, they like fall on
Yeah.
top of his leg while he's there and he's all like
Right.
like just like screaming and it looks so
Yeah.
disgusting and real, but it's like also like a Three Stooges level of like shtick
Oh yeah.
comedy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I mean that I think what sold that scene specifically. I mean, you're talking the golden age of practical effects in horror,
Yeah,
and they gave zero fucks because it cost nothing, and studios knew they were going to make money off of these, but they just let them kind of do whatever. So they just went full on, And that one in particular, I haven't seen that movie probably since maybe high school. That's been a long time since I've watched a Waxwork movie. But those were, I mean, like I said, that was the golden age of practical effects. They just went,
yeah,
no matter how shitty the movie was, you had, Nicotera, Berger, Showstrom. One of those guys were involved with it, or like a tutelage of them, like somebody who worked with him before would get on, and everything was fucking gnarly and hella fucking gross. Even if the movie was really bad, it was worth it.
the thing that's also really fun about Waxwork is that first one, the guy that owns the waxwork is the scientist from Secret of the Ooze.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's just like that guy.
yeah.
Why isn't
He's
that
also
guy
the
in
guy
more
who
things?
gets. He's also the guy who gets decapitated in The Omen.
Yeah.
That's him. He's a good actor, that guy. I forget his name, but he was in some classics, but random classics.
Yeah.
Like you talk about the great actors like Pacino, Godfather, Scarface. He's pretty much always playing a gangster, but that guy went from a photographer who gets beheaded in The Omen to the guy who works for what's the company that had the use?
TGRI.
TGRI. He was that guy. He had Toker and Razor, which he was a sensitive scientist. He definitely was not a mad scientist, even though he had mutants,
Yeah, that's a good point. It'd be funny to see a Waxwork Ninja Turtles crossover.
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, that's what we want. If I would watch it. I mean, there to me personally, there can be some lead into that because you did bring up one movie that I did watch last night that to me kind of is a Waxwork and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle mashup.
We're talking about Sorority Babes in the Slime Bowl-O-Rama?
Yes.
Yeah. AKA The Imp. Also from 1988. All of these movies are from the same year.
From the same year. And you know what? And they're like, I was watching, I got to see a good presentation of that movie because Shudder brought back Joe Bob Briggs and he did that movie. So I got to watch it with all his cool interludes and little factual notes.
I have Shudder. I'm going to have... Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I had Shudder. When you said that there was a last drive-in of it, I was like, shit, I got to watch it.
Right. I think it's only like $6 a month. Get the app.
Yeah.
Don't get it through Amazon Prime. The streaming quality isn't that good through Prime. But if you get the app separate and just subscribe to that, I think it's a month of free membership. So it's worth it, especially for the next couple months and for Joe Bob Briggs.
Totally. So I think Spider in Sorority Babes in the Slime Bowl-O-Rama is probably the hottest chick in any 80s movie, period, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Not that it matters, but Spider's pretty hot.
Right. And she was in all of those LA horror movies. I don't think she was in Death Spa, but she was in that, was it Hollywood Hooker Massacre?
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's kind of, I believe it's the same director. It may have came right after it. Because there was a whole slew of, from what Joe Bob Briggs was talking about, there was a whole slew of 1980s California, what he called bubblegum horror movies, which were pretty interesting.
Yeah.
We've seen most of them. Death Spa, Sorority Babes, which that movie's fucking, I'm shocked I've never seen that one.
Yeah.
That's definitely...
It's one of those weird ones that's like, if it wasn't for I'm glad that it has the title that it does, because in any other circumstance, because it's also known as The Imp, and I would probably never watch The Imp, but if I happen to come across a movie with a name like Sorority Babes and the Slime Bowl-O-Rama, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
But I mean, Leanna Quigley was in Return of the Living Dead.
That's right.
Go back to that too. So it's like, it's fun when all that stuff.
I think that was even a Los Angeles production, to be honest. I'll have to look that up. Yeah. We'll have to look that up, but who cares? We can move on to the next one. But that one, I mean, if you have Shudder, definitely anybody check it out if you want to have some laughs. There's some really absurd dialogue, like really absurd, like there's a part where they first walk into the bowling alley and the one guy says, boy, this place is weird. And then they show like a tracking shot of the bowling alley and it's like, dude, it's just a fucking bowling alley. Like, what's so weird about it? Like, really? Yeah. Like, I could see if it was the bowling alley in North Versailles at like midnight. Yeah, you could walk in that place and say, yeah, this is fucking weird. But that was a hilarious line that stuck out to me. It was just one of those things where you're like, okay, now I know what I'm in for this movie. And then the imp shows up and just forget about it.
What was your reaction the first time you saw the imp?
Well, that was what made me think of Ninja Turtles, because I was like, this creature, that's what creatures look like in that era. They looked really funny. The other thing was his voice, and he was, he had swag, and it's like, okay, so the villain has swag. He's not very movable. Like, just his mouth moves. Like, he's not a very mobile villain.
That one scene where they put his arm out to trick that person from behind the door.
Yeah,
the only time he's not sitting on the arcade machine.
Right. That's a movie I feel like if you show it to a group of adults like us who like stupid movies, they would laugh their ass off. But if you would show it to a teenager nowadays, I mean, I'm sure there's a select few teenagers who would be into that. They would definitely be more of the comedy crowd, eccentrics and whatnot. But I don't think that would fly. A lot of kids would just walk out on that.
Oh,
that
yeah.
wouldn't work unless they were on drugs. Who knows?
So the guy that voiced the imp, his stage name is Dookie Flyswatter, and
That's right. I looked him up.
Yeah, he's an LA punk dude that was in a band at the time. I haven't heard his band, but I'm really curious to check it out.
Yeah, I would hope it was like a kind of Daughters thing where he kind of just talks in that voice over music and does like stream of consciousness shit. Like, it probably isn't, but yeah, I looked it up because I was like, well, who the hell is this guy? You know, and when you see him, he's just some goofy white dude, and I'm like, okay, cool. You know, I didn't know what to picture because that voice was hella fucking unique, and I was like, okay, I'm sold on this. You know.
Watching that movie, you could tell that they just had a lot of fun making it.
Oh, yeah.
Especially the actress that gets turned into the Bride of Frankenstein when she's like running around doing like kill stuff. She's like on fucking like level 1000, just hamming it up. It's so good.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of cocaine on the set. I definitely
the janitor character that keeps getting pushed into
dude, that was the only actor in that movie other than Leanie Quigley or whatever her name is who I recognize. That dude's in like They Live. He's in a lot of Carpenter movies, and he always plays kind of an ominous figure. So, and it would be around that time frame. So the fact that he was just a janitor, you know. He was probably the most tragic character in the movie.
Oh yeah, it gave it a human, a depth to it, some empathy, someone to feel bad for.
Yeah, a guy who lives in a closet of a bowling alley.
Yeah, guarding a bowling trophy that is containing a smooth-talking, wisecracking imp.
But you know what? To go back to what I was saying, I mean, he ended up kind of being one of the villains in They Live. Like, he was the human who, like, pretty much let the aliens do their thing. He would be that guy for that job. He wouldn't fuck that up. They fucked it up. He just, was stuck in there. Yeah. But, oh, my God, that movie's so fun. I'm so glad I watched it. As soon as I saw that title, I'm like, fuck, this is one that got over our heads back in the day when we were watching silly horror films. I don't know if you had it or not, but you probably would have showed that to me.
No, I definitely saw that more recently.
Okay.
Just in my just recent quest now, just because you can stream so much stuff. Because I watched Sorority Babes, I watched it on Shudder, but just the vert itself. I didn't realize there was a Joe Bob, because whenever he does all those, they always upload the movie without his shit too. I just didn't notice that he had done that. So yeah, I just watched it recently, and I was like, wow, like I'd never heard of this, and this is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
really, really cool.
Yeah, and it's we could go on for a while about that one.
Yeah, I could probably talk about it. I could easily talk about that movie for quite a while. So
yeah, I will add, there's one thing in that I had to bring up when I was watching it, and this was so 1980s pop culture, is when the one girl's kind of a zombie with all the boils and shit on her face, and she's putting like Clarisil and Noxzema on it. Like, even though she's like a zombie, she's still cognizant of her complexion, and she's using Noxzema, and she's like, this is never gonna go away. That was a classic moment.
Yeah, it just feels like they had like no real plan when they made that
Mhm.
movie. It was just
Yeah.
kind of like, hey, we can get into this bowling alley for 2 or 3 nights, and we have
Mhm.
this puppet come up with a story.
Right, right. We have cocaine. We have foreign investors who don't care. Let's just make this happen, which was pretty much every 80s Los Angeles horror film.
So I have 3 more movies that I want to talk about.
Okay.
One of them is more recent, so
Mhm.
we'll get modern, even though this movie's
Okay.
11 years old at this point. 2009, Drag Me to Hell.
One of my favorites.
It's so fucking good. I
It
love this
hits
movie.
on every level. Every
Yeah.
level.
I was really tied between if I wanted to talk about Drag Me to Hell or Slither.
Hmm.
I was like those are both really, really cool movies, both really different. But there's
Hmm.
kind of a theme that I was kind of going for with all of these of like these are like fun, like just I can't think of a better word to say, but just like fun horror movies that operate on every level.
Right,
Like of
right.
like just entertainment, but also
Yeah.
like really cool practical effects.
Hmm.
An okay enough story. Like the story of the Drag Me to Hell is just so,
Hmm.
like a cursed button. But it's
Yeah,
simple
that's all
and
it
it
took.
works. You
Yeah,
don't need all this crazy in-depth side stories and all of these other things. It's anybody could get it.
yeah. Well, the main factor is there's not a priest.
Sure.
There's a Santeria woman, but that's way cooler than a priest. Like,
Yeah.
you can fuck with a priest. You can't fuck with a Santeria woman. You can't, you know?
I I really, really like the interesting thing about Drag Me to Hell is because it took me a few years to watch it because I
Hmm.
just assumed that it was going to be another one of those movies. I didn't
Right.
expect it to have like the comical leaning that it did because it wasn't
Hmm.
really marketed that way. I
Hmm.
mean, given, Sam Raimi, you should have assumed, but
Right.
also it's like, what the fuck is he doing anymore? Who knows? He might be
Right.
making, like, trying to cash in on one of these, 2000s horror tropes. But
Yeah.
no, it's just another it's pretty true to form if you want to talk about like his style and his like simple way of telling stuff. But it was cool to have
Hmm.
something that's like it's not as over the top as like an Evil Dead movie and it's a lot
No.
more phoned in. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. I mean, there's still the same character like tropes and the just cliches. She pretty much becomes the Ash character,
Yeah.
where there's one point in the movie where she stopped questioning why is this happening, why is this so crazy, and just guts it out, like literally just it's like, okay, I'm gonna figure this out, I'm gonna survive, fuck everybody else. I actually saw that in the theater when it came out, and that didn't last long in the theaters. I think it didn't do well at all because it was around the time where I think the Saw movies were pretty big. Hostel was pretty big. So, like, it was the torture porn horror era. And
Sure.
I think it was right after Spider-Man 3, too, which was a big failure. And I think only the true, like people who trusted that Sam would get something right, maybe again. I went to it just because it was something to do on a Saturday afternoon. I had no
Yeah.
idea it was going to be that fucking good. Like the
Yeah.
the part where the demon first flashes, where she goes to that mystic dude, and he touches her, touches the button, and there's that flash of the devil or whatever on the big screen. I almost fucking shit myself. Like that shit was so dead on. Like just so classic Sam Raimi. Like bam. That's a
Yeah.
legendary movie for
I
people
think
who
that
watch it.
I think the casting was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Justin Long is really cool in that
Mm-hmm.
movie. And what's the main actress's Alison Lohman?
Allison Lohman. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
awesome, awesome. Like
Yeah.
like the perfect amount of like like her character. Like she could tell she's like this so like this like nice, sweet, want to be left alone sort of person, but can also
Mhm.
like 180 to total badass and is like really good
Yeah,
at being angry.
right.
It does
Yeah,
rule.
yeah. It's. I mean, it's one that it made my like when I lead up to Halloween. Like I have traditional movies I watch per day leading up to at least a few days before Halloween. Like there's certain movies I traditionally watch, and I will watch the Evil Dead series, and then right after Army of Darkness, I go straight to Drag Me to Hell. Like I'll
Yeah.
end it with that because it's just like you don't really miss a beat, and even though it's outside of the Evil Dead world, it still is Sam Raimi at his best at what he does best. And
Yeah.
it's one of those movies too that people who've seen it love it. I haven't met anybody who saw Drag Me to Hell and
Yeah.
said I didn't like it.
You know, I'm looking up the some stuff on it right now, and it
Hmm.
actually did well in the theater.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. So the budget on it was 30 million and it grossed 90.
Well, that's good. I
And I
mean,
guess it won some award. It won some awards too,
mhm.
and apparently it premiered at Cannes Film Festival.
Well, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, no, it apparently it did well. It still may have not been in the theaters very long, but I guess for what it's worth, it did do
Mhm.
good,
Yeah.
which is
Might
awesome.
have been.
It deserves it. It's a fucking
Yeah.
killer movie.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I when I saw that on your list, I was like, we could either talk about this for longer than the movie is, or we can just come to the conclusion that this is a fucking great movie. You need to see it, and it's as simple.
1000%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So we
I
can just
was
move forward. If anybody's watching, if you haven't seen Drag Me to Hell, or you have seen Drag Me to Hell, either watch it for the first time around Halloween. You know, make an evening out of it. You know, candlelight, ice cream, Drag Me to Hell. Why not? If you've
tight.
already seen it, then watch it again because you know you want to right now.
Yeah, no, it's the perfect movie for this time of year, honestly. It's
Perfect.
yeah, it's so fun. So
Mhm.
going down the road of fun films, I guess I'm going to go back in time, back through
Okay.
1988 because we went through all that, and I want to
Mhm.
talk about like a good Halloween movie that is actually fun for all, the whole
Mhm.
family, and it'll be
Mhm.
Mad Monster Party, 1967.
Okay, that was the puppet movie, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was a
I don't know.
claymation.
Yeah, I know. So it's it's a Rankin Bass production.
Mhm.
So Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, that whole team that did that did
Okay.
this, and it fucking rules. Everything about it is so cool. The style, well, the animation is great. The style of the puppets is cool. You got
Mhm.
fucking Boris Karloff, Phyllis Diller, all these fun voice
Right.
actors in it. The music, the soundtrack rules so hard. And I had
Mhm.
never seen this movie until Stacy showed it to me. And now,
Okay.
like, I love it to death. It is such a great movie for this time of year.
Mhm. I remember it being on. I just don't remember much about it. I remember
Yeah.
that what it looked like, and I remember seeing posters of it. And I think once we got a little older at some of the cons, I would see like posters and T-shirts for it. Like that's such a niche audience, like
Yeah.
for that movie. But I'm gonna order it and buy it. I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah. Dude,
I
it's like
remember it was one of those things like, it was probably on when you were a kid, you watched it a couple times and you just moved on, and then someone brings it up later and you're like, oh yeah, that.
yeah. I mean, that was the thing. Like when Stacy had brought it up, I was like,
Hmm.
this seems cool. But then like
Hmm.
so we started watching it, and then like honestly, like in the first minute, I was just
Hmm.
locked in. I was like, what the fuck? I cannot believe I didn't know this was a thing. Like it just starts so good.
Hmm.
And yeah, the animation style of everything, I already said it. The music, the voice acting, like everything. It's so good. It's perfect for this time of year. Any
Yeah.
time of year, honestly.
Yeah.
I'll watch it anytime.
They really went in on that. Like being that that was the same people who did Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, they're like,
Yeah,
okay, well, let's go all in on this holiday. And yeah, we never really got to it. It probably maybe aired
yeah,
on TV maybe a few times. I think at maybe one point Nickelodeon or Disney may have had it on, but it kind of like went under the radar. But I know it definitely had a little following. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna buy that like
yeah.
ASAP.
It is so fun. Like I can't think of anything else to say about it. But like it. I mean the whole shtick of it is uh there's basically like uh Frankenstein the doctor is it invites everybody to his castle for like his annual like an annual dinner party, and it's like like the creature, mummy, Wolfman, Dracula, but like he's like retiring, so he's going to be giving like inheriting his whole operation to his like it's like a distant nephew or some shit that's just like this little dumbass kid that has nothing to like doesn't know anything about anything, and he's like brought into so it's like a fish out of water sort of story in a weird way, but with puppets and 1960s animation. It's in color too, so like it has that really interesting like everything's like really desaturated, like the way like color was in the 60s. It just has a really unique look.
Yeah.
It's sick.
Yeah, I'm gonna cop that. I'll probably talk to you about it, but I knew it existed. I knew it was a thing. I knew I saw some of it. It was just one of those things that, like I said, it probably aired a couple times, and you know how things go. I mean, they probably aired it a few times, the same networks that put out Rudolph, and they were like, okay, this is kind of fucking weird.
Well, it's definitely weird because there's a lot of like sexuality in it and a lot of like there's a lot it's a lot more adult. Like it's not adult, but it's definitely not fucking Rudolph. Like
Right. Right.
it's
It's not Meet the
definitely
Feebles, you know.
darker. Yeah, it's darker. It's weirder. It's a little bit more mature, which like makes it that much more entertaining. Because when I was watching it, I was just like, why does this exist? How does this exist? How did
Right.
I not know about it? Why is this not on TV every year?
I don't know. Well, Stacy hooked it up, so props to Stacy on that
Yeah,
one. I'm
definitely.
definitely gonna watch it. You know, it will probably become a traditional watch. You know.
hmm So I guess we're rounding the corner here.
We at what, 5?
That yeah, so we did. So I think I'm on my last one because we did Return of
Okay.
the Living Dead Part 2.
Right.
We did Waxwork.
Waxwork, Sorority
Did
Babes,
Sorority Babes, Drag Me to
Drag Me to
Hell,
Hell,
what we were just talking about, Mad
Monster.
Monster
Yeah.
Party. I have like the
Yeah.
memory of a goddamn snail.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna start taking writing like a list of things down, but who cares? I mean, you know, I think before we get to your last one, we could bullshit about some other horror films that we've always watched, or like at least snippets of things,
Sure.
because you're gonna love this, because this goes way back. I have no idea why I started watching it, probably because I was watching a whole Joe Bob marathon, and the next movie up was Henry Portrait of the Serial Killer,
Yeah.
which is not a good time. It is not a fun movie at all.
Sure,
But
sure, sure.
there was one particular character in that movie that I forgot that we used to talk about, and that was his flamboyantly dressed boss where he worked as a exterminator. Remember
Yeah.
the guy with the plaid suit and the turtleneck and the pink scarf? I think we used him as a flyer at one point for one of our shows. Now it's like I got to bring this up with Brian because I think I definitely remember talking about that guy, and it was like we talked about that movie, and then out of nowhere, what was up with his boss? You
You know
know?
what's funny? I think that VHS tape was the VHS tape that had the Death Spa trailer on it. Because
Yes.
we
And
were
then
trying to find
we
Death.
got
We were
Death
trying to.
Spot.
I remember I think that we ended up renting a copy from West Coast Video. I think that's
They had
down.
everything. They had everything. They even had Arena. I know you brought up Arena. Is that
Yeah.
your last one, Arena?
No, it's not.
No, okay.
Yeah.
I think Arena was somewhere on there on the list the other day. But that
And you
was the
prob-
only place you could find a copy of Arena.
yeah, I think that I think I may have whenever I sent you the list, I may have misspelled sorority babes in the slime bowl-orama. I may have put
Okay.
slime bowl arena or something like that.
Oh,
So it got
I
mixed
was like,
in.
wait a second. Arena's not a horror film. It's a bunch of
Yeah,
aliens fighting. But,
yeah. That's
I
what,
guess it
like
has a Halloween vibe.
it was like when you said that thing because commented earlier. You're like, yeah, that's the band with the aliens that are fighting. I was like, shit, I'm not too sure what he's talking about right now. But I'm gonna be on live with him in a minute, so we'll figure it out there.
Okay. I was like, well, I mean, I'll talk about that movie. I know about that movie, but and it makes it even better that it wasn't even on the list. So that might be a future list of movies that I mistake that you probably should watch.
Sure, sure. Arena would be good, and also the one monster in that kind of
Hmm.
looks like uh uh King Koopa from the live action Mario Brothers movie,
That's right. Yeah.
which
Yeah,
is
that movie's really strange. That's
I
another
actually
1989 picture.
I actually love that movie, to be completely honest with you. I
Yeah.
think that it's really, really good. I mean, it doesn't make sense as a Super Mario Brothers movie for sure, but
Right.
that whole like late 80s, early 90s cyberpunk-esque weird
Hmm.
thing that was going on with movies like that and like the Johnny Mnemonic and
Hmm.
all, that whole era, Total Recall, keep
Right.
going. Love the look and the feel of all of those movies.
Yeah. Yeah. The first one, I remember when it came out, it was, it was really kind of like you said, like I never thought of it that way as like a cyberpunk, but it really was kind of dark for a Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, you had tremendous actors in it, which is
Yeah.
really weird. I mean, you had Bob Hopkins, which is a highly regarded British actor. You had John Leguizamo, who at the time was mostly known for comedy and stuff, but then kind of became known for just about everything. And then you had Dennis Hopper as the villain, and that was probably not too long after like Blue Velvet, Dennis
Yeah.
Hopper, which pretty much is the same character.
Dude, I love that movie. I think it's a really, really cool movie. Um, the look of it,
Hmm.
the music is fun, the acting
Hmm.
is good too, which really sells. I mean,
Yeah,
with the right cast, you could sell any story.
correct.
It's just so strange that it's a Mario Brothers movie for sure.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
it
like this
didn't.
weird, like it's like a weird nightmare. It's like if you had this
Hmm.
weird dream and the Mario
Hmm.
Brothers were in it, and then you would try to explain it to somebody, and they would say that you're out of your mind. Like that's what they
Yeah,
made. It's like a Mario
yeah,
Brothers nightmare.
yeah. It and it got greenlit and it got a wide release and it was a big movie for the time and
Uh-huh.
it was a major what the fuck. But I mean, that's another movie that still has its audience. Like that's one movie that you'll bring up with certain people at certain times and they'll go, I actually fucking really enjoyed that. And then I would say,
Yeah.
yeah, it was really fucking not a Super Mario Brothers movie, but it was pretty fucking cool at the same time.
Another movie from that era that is not per se a horror film. It's kind of a horror movie, but it had a lot of horror special effects people on it. Would be
Hmm.
that movie that Alex Winters made, Freaked, from the early
Amazing.
90s.
Amazing.
That movie rules
Unreal.
so hard.
Hmm. That I watched it not too long ago with one of my new neighbors, or well, he's not a new neighbor anymore. He's lived next door for a while, but he's British and he's never seen it. I mean, he knows a lot of films and he is a film buff like us. And I says, well, have you ever seen the movie Freaked? And he, and because we were talking about Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and I says, well, this movie was pretty much funded by whatever Alex got from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and pretty much had, a lot of the cast from, and I didn't know that years later that Keanu Reeves is actually in Freaked.
Oh, really?
He's Ortiz the dog boy.
Oh, okay. Oh, you know what? I did know that. I forgot about it, but I did know that, yeah.
Yeah, because he is not in the credits anywhere. He's nowhere attached to that movie, and he's in so much makeup. But then once you hear the voice, you're like, But the weirdest thing I got from watching that movie recently, and I guess this is because Alex Winter's pretty, he's a very well-accomplished documentarian now, very intelligent, very, outspoken about, like, not political views, but, like, social views and all that, and, some political. But if you rewatch that movie, the company that makes, was it Zygote 24? Oh, God, what were they called? I forget. But anyways, they're pretty much Monsanto. And a long time ago on Facebook, I think it was right when Alex Winter first put up a Facebook account, he posted something about one of his newer documentaries, and I think he posted something about it was something about probably the dark web or whatever, and I just commented out of nowhere. I was like, so Freaked is pretty much a satire on Monsanto, right? And he liked it, and I was like, okay, I'm not totally broken. I figured something out. I fucking figured out Freaked, one of the best movies of the 90s. That it's one of those movies where people know they saw it, but they don't know what it is. You show them a Rastafarian eyeball thing, and you're like, oh, I know what that's from. What the hell movie was that? It's amazing. Is that your number 6, or is that just a random?
No, I was just bringing it up.
Oh, fuck. That's an amazing movie. We should, what we should do next year once things get better? We should just, I'll fund it. We should just do movie nights at Black Forge and just play these movies and do, like, a quick introduction, have it free,
Yeah.
Because we could definitely scream Freaked. The people need to see it,
Yeah,
and they don't have to pay anything. It'll be free, so we don't have to worry about, any issues there. I mean, I'm sure no one's going to come after us for screaming Freaked, but,
Yeah, I think
I would show.
So before we get into the last movie that I want to talk about, while we're on the subject of Bill and Ted, I don't think I talked to you about this at all yet, but did you watch Face the Music?
It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It was a lot of fun.
I watched it maybe 3 days in a row. I watched it on a Sunday evening. I went to work. I came home, and I was really tired, but I needed to watch something. And I was like, I'm going to watch that again. So then I watched it again, and then I told my mom, I said, Mom, we should check this out. You should come watch this. So then we watched it. It's just, I think you said it in your review of it. It's the movie we needed this year.
Yeah,
it's just like, it's so feel good. It's disgusting.
It's super wholesome. It's a lot of fun. I really liked the actresses that they got to play the daughters.
Yeah.
I think they both did really, really awesome, especially the one from that Atypical show. Because I really liked her in that. I don't know if you ever watched that show.
I haven't. She's the one who played Keanu Reeves' daughter, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Atypical fucking rules. I think you would really like it. It's really good. And it's so funny because, like, I wouldn't say that she plays the same character, but, like, it was so hard for me to break her out of my mind, like, as the character she is in that show, because like, it's very, like, this must be part of her personality, probably.
Right.
But yeah, that I liked Face the Music a lot too, and I'm just glad that they made it. Like, it was so unnecessary, but I'm glad that they were like passionate enough to do it. You know, both everybody involved in that project has fuck you money. There's no reason for them to make
Oh
it.
yeah,
They're just like,
yeah.
we're
They
just gonna
didn't
do this. Why not?
Keanu Reeves has enough fuck you money for the entire cast to
Yeah.
have fuck you money. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? And I always knew it was coming because like no matter how many times either of them were asked about it, they were always down. There was never that like thing where Bruce Campbell had like 20 years ago where dude just let Ash go. There's no more Ash. And now of course he had a whole 3 seasons of a TV series of Ash. But
Yeah.
they never let it down, and I think them too, because they have the power, especially Keanu Reeves, they have the power it's not going to be made unless I like it. I think they waited it out until the perfect script and the perfect movie arrived, and they really nailed it. It's really an awesome movie. Definitely probably my favorite movie of the year.
I think it might be the only new movie I've seen this year.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Good.
I saw Onward, the Disney Pixar movie, and it's fucking awesome. If you haven't seen that, it's really good.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like a really, really fun story just about like two brothers. One of them's like a metalhead. It has like a fun like kind of
Okay.
it's like a fun movie that's just like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like there's an edge to it that I haven't seen out of any other movie from that studio before. There's a different thing to it.
Yeah,
it's worth
a lot of
watching.
a lot of their movies are so fucking depressing. I hate to admit, like
Sure.
a Pixar movie will fuck up my day. And then I think it was Toy Story 3. I watched that on Christmas, like around the time it came out. It was so fucking miserable. I was like, this is not Toy Story, you know. But I love it's good. It wasn't what I expected. There were some parts where it got dark. Maybe I was a little too stoned for it. Oh, there you go. Oh my god. Yeah. But yeah. But on to number 6.
It's heavy for sure. It has its moments.
But on to your number 6 movie. What you got?
So the number 6 movie, we're going back in time even more to this is probably the first favorite movie that I ever had, period. And it's the 1960 version of 13 Ghosts, the William Castle version. Yeah. Admittedly, I've watched this movie in my adult years, and I'm kind of like, okay, there's a lot of issues with this movie. It's not the best, but the nostalgia berries are great, and I've loved the movie since I was a kid. And there's still a lot of stuff about it that I find like genuinely entertaining, like what they were trying to do at the time, and like that butcher that's throwing the butcher blades at the people and stuff, and like, all the dumb little ghosts. It's a fun concept, and like I feel like at the time that I watched it, I was probably the same age as the little boy in the movie, so it was like super relatable. I had never really seen a movie like that before. It might be the first horror movie I ever saw. I probably went from that to The Exorcist because my uncle was an asshole.
Yeah. It always plays out like that. Someone always exposes you to The Exorcist at a young age, and it's like, I wasn't ready for that, I think I got the AMC or TBS version. No, I got the AMC version of The Exorcist first, which they didn't dumb it down too much. They just took out some of the obvious. But for the most part, it was pretty much the movie, and,
well, that's one of those things. That's the funny thing about The Exorcist is that, like, with the exception of maybe like 2 minutes of footage, that movie's pretty tame. It's just all like really, really tense tone.
Yeah. It's a drama.
Yeah.
It's really it's a you got a family drama about divorce, celebrity, and a single mom pretty much. And then you got a priest who's a psychiatrist for priests, and he's fucked up because he's heard some shit. And then you got an aged cop who thinks he's seen everything, and they all kind of converge into one another. And this girl's possessed out of nowhere. Really, you could take Reagan out of that movie, and it's a typical '70s drama. Really,
Sure.
you could take her
Sure.
right out of the movie. There needs no exorcism at all. It could have just been a murder, and these were the people dealing with it. But holy shit. But yeah, back to 13 Ghosts, William Castle, one of the OGs, the real OGs.
I think that, even though the horror elements are very limited, it's from the 60s, and it's also a family-friendly film. I just really like the idea of that story of, this family moving into a haunted house that's haunted by these different ghosts, and it told through the lens again of like that little boy. Another really awesome horror movie that isn't as Halloween-y, and I also don't think it's really a horror movie, but would be like the original Bad Seed. I really like that movie a lot.
That's a creepy movie. That little girl's a good actress.
And I think I saw both of those movies right around the same time. And I really liked both those movies a lot when I was a kid. I think they're both really cool. And I guess they've both been. Did they remake The Bad Seed? I remember hearing that it was gonna happen, but I don't know if it actually did.
To me, I kind of feel like it's like The Omen, where they remade it, and then there was several other renditions of it that wasn't obviously a remake. The Bad Seed, I don't know. I would say the closest thing that would come to that movie, honestly, as far as just the nature of it, is like a kid who's just naturally fucked up. I would say, I think it's called We Have to Talk About Kevin.
Okay.
With Tilda Swinton. Have you ever seen that one?
No.
Oh yeah, that's a definite watch. That's a dark. It's not a Halloween movie. It's a dark one, but there's definitely kind of. I wouldn't say it's a remake. I'm maybe not even inspired by it, but it fits that whole mold of, there's something fucked up with this kid. I don't know what it is, but there's something going on here, And that's another one that kind of fell short, yet has its following.
Yeah. Did you watch We Have Always Lived in the Castle? It's a newer. So. It's newer. One of the one actress in it is in a lot of the American Horror Story stuff, but I can't remember her name. But it is tight. We Have Always Lived in the Castle. I think it's based off a book. It's a really cool. It's not really a horror movie. It's one of those just like really strange family dramas with like a hint of like some horror or a murder, something mysterious happened. If you like a slow-paced burner that's just kind of creepy and shot really well with like good acting, it's tight. It's on Netflix. I think I've seen the title before. Yeah, because there's a few movies that came out within the past 5 years that all kind of have the same title, even though they're different movies. There's one that's called They Still Live Here. And there's another one, They're Watching, and I think there's another one that's just called Still Hair. So it's like, okay, which movie is which? Like, really? Like, come on, Netflix. Like, you can change titles. If they change the imp, they could change that. Yeah. There's did you watch Girl on the Third Floor?
Not yet. That's on my watch list, though.
That's sick too. Has a good soundtrack.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was one movie I wanted to bring up since we're throwing recommendations at one another. Have you seen any of the VHS series movies?
Yeah. I saw the first one, yeah.
Okay, so have you seen the second one yet?
No.
Okay. So there's, yeah, I mean, you know how those movies go. They're small, short films by different directors. There's one by the dude who did the Raid movies called Safe Haven.
Okay.
And it, even though it's only like maybe 20 minutes long, 25 minutes, it may be the best 25 minutes of horror in the past 20 years.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it's one of those ones where it has glimpses of everything we were into for a long time. So it has glimpses of Takashi Miike for sure. It has kind of a I mean it's probably one of the most effective movies about a cult that isn't stupid. You know what I
Okay.
mean? It isn't just drinking the punch. The cult actually, you'll see. You need to see that. And I don't know if it's on any streaming services. I found, and I'll send you the link. Somebody put the whole movie on YouTube, and it's
Okay.
pretty good quality. But I don't know if it has subtitles because most of it is in, uh, I think it's in Thai. I don't know if that's the specific language it's in, but I don't know if it has subtitles or not. But it is the most Brian thing I've ever seen. Really, it's like really like, yeah, this is something that Brian and us would be into. We probably would have made an album about it if it was out
Yeah,
15, 20 years ago. It
that's
is
so funny.
that's definitely my recommendation for you because it's so
What,
fucking awesome.
what was the other movie that you recommended?
Uh not it wasn't Hereditary because I think you saw that. We should talk about Kevin.
Yeah,
I think that's what it's called. Okay,
that's
I'll
what it
find
was.
out
Yeah.
the real name. I'll send you a link for that one. It's one of those ones that's on most streaming services. Like you could find it somewhere. Like somewhere is streaming that movie. It's
Yeah.
it's not a horror film. It's just a really dark what the fuck drama, which is top notch acting.
Yeah.
Tilda Swinton, Ezra Miller, and John C. Riley.
Oh,
John
nice.
C. Riley. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's one of those ones that it kind of like went nowhere. And then a couple people says, you need to check out this movie. And it was one of those ones where, you know, very seldom are people who watch as much movies and shit as we do are like shocked. And it
Mhm.
was one of those ones that fucking shocked me. And I'm like, this is a really uncomfortable fucking movie that is just masterful. Like it's one that once you see it, we could talk about it, you know.
So, if without getting too in the weeds here, uh,
Oh, we're
uncomfortable
deep in the
movies.
woods, dude. We're deep in the
Uncomfortable,
woods.
uncomfortable movies. So, I watched something on Shudder recently, and I don't know if I have felt this way about a film since Visitor Q.
Okay.
It's
Uh-oh.
not it's not as wild as Visitor Q, but it is undoubtedly one of the wildest things I've ever seen. And maybe you've watched it. The Baby?
No, haven't seen it.
Yeah, there's a
Check it
movie
out.
on Shudder called The Baby. I'm not gonna say anything else about it. Just watch it. I was shocked. I was very much in awe that this movie was made, that this movie has existed for the past, what, 40 something years. I don't know when it was in the 70s. I'd have to look it up. And that
Okay.
it just like, how did this movie exist? I understand why nobody talked about it because it's fucking really weird, but still somebody made it. And it's just like wild to me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on Shudder. Watch it.
Darn.
1000%. You got to watch it.
How
And
fucking good is Shutter, by the way?
oh,
I mean,
Shudder rules.
I kind of like I got it when it first started, and you felt like they're building and they're building, and then it seems like once they got the rights for Mandy and a couple other movies, you know, oh
Mhm.
shit, we got 20. Oh, we're on a timer. We got to wrap this up. We only got 20 seconds remaining.
Oh yeah, I guess we can only go for an hour, huh?
Oh, those sons of bitches.
Oh
But
well, it's all
anyways,
good.
let's just wrap this up. We'll bullshit. Thank everybody for tuning in. Hit up Brian on many of his platforms. Hit up me on many of my platforms.